Miso is one of my favorite foods to eat regularly because it's full of probiotics, it heals your gut and strengthens your immune system, and so much more. So today we are going to learn how to make miso paste. Hi! In this video, we have a special guest who is my friend Yumiko. Her and her friends, they make and sell this delicious food through their brand Swissmiso. So she's the one who's going to be teaching us today how to make miso paste. I will also be putting the recipe in the description box.
Yes, hi, my name is Yumiko. I do make miso paste here in Switzerland using local ingredients. We do make miso paste and ferment it for 8 months, and we sell that online.
So now we're going to go to the kitchen to learn how to make miso paste.
I soaked the soya bean with cold water overnight, 800 grams of soya bean overnight. And then with that liquid, the water that I soaked in, I cooked for about 3 hours this morning, just so that the soya bean is soft enough to mash. It becomes very soft. I think you can try one, pick one. And it's really soft enough. Just soya bean with water. That's it.
Yeah.
Now I have to drain this, but keep a little bit of the cooked water because I'm going to use that later. Some of these.
So can you tell us why we should be eating miso paste?
Well, first of all, miso is a fermented food, and I think a lot of people know by now that fermented food is good for health benefit. Miso paste is rich in vitamins and minerals, and it's very antioxidant. And even though it's salty, due to fermentation process, the body absorbs that salt better than just consuming the salt itself. And you can use that, marinate meat, fish, vegetable, make salad sauce, use in many ways in the cuisine.
Yeah, actually I even like to use a little bit of miso sauce and put it on a piece of salmon, just like all by itself.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. During the summer, you can also marinate that in the meat and do barbecue. You will see the meat it becomes much tender, adds a lot of flavor. You don't even have to add any salt, just miso paste as is, grill it, and you will see how it tastes. So now I'm breaking down the cooked soya bean. Like that. That's what you want to achieve, like a pasty bean paste. And from here we want to mix. Okay. So that is the rice koji that I already made and mixed with sea salt. That is 800 grams of rice koji with 350 grams of sea salt.
Okay.
Rice koji, how I make it is I soak rice overnight, steam the rice to a little bit al dente, and once the temperature goes down below 40, then I spread the koji powder.
Okay.
And let it ferment in about 30 degrees with the humidity of about 60 to 70% for 48 hours. And then that's how the rice koji becomes ready.
Wow.
So this rice koji is, if you find it difficult to make it, which for a beginner, it's a little bit complicated.
Okay.
With the humidity level, temperature of ice controlling. With our Swissmiso, we do sell dry rice koji, if you're interested in.
Well, that's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, it's better to reach a little below 40 degrees.
Okay.
Otherwise, the koji mold will die if it's over 50 degrees, I would say.
So how do you check that?
You can check with your thermometer,
Mm-hmm.
but by touching it, if it's slightly warmer to your hand,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. If you find it a little bit, ouch, hot,
Yeah.
then that's not good.
Okay.
And if you see the steam, it's too hot.
Okay. Well, these are good indications. So, miso paste, when you make it, it can be fermenting for a year, two. It can last even longer. What's the difference on the timing?
I would ferment the miso soup minimum 6 months, just so that there's a edge sharp of saltiness if it's not fermented long enough. And after 6 months, well, we in our company we ferment a minimum 7 months, and it really becomes mild, the taste of miso. But that is a young miso, and we call it white miso. And if you leave it continue fermenting over the next 6 months or a year, the color of the miso becomes darker and darker and deeper in flavor. That is your preference. If you want longer fermentation, you can have that. If you want to have fresh miso, after 6-7 months, you can start eating immediately. And if you want to stop the fermentation, you just simply put in the fridge. All right, so now we're pouring the rice koji mixed with sea salt onto the bean paste. And that you mix very well, the rice koji and sea salt, and just mix them together. And you mix it very well with the bean paste. Just so you know, you never over mix. Make sure that the paste and the rice koji and sea salt are very well mixed together. And this is actually one activity that you can do with children, because they do like little craft like this, and which becomes something edible. You just want to make sure that the texture is, we call it like your ear, soft enough, not too dry, but not too wet. So for that, we add the liquid that you cooked, the soya bean, a little bit, and then mix it well. And after this, the goal is to make a little bowl of this miso paste. Okay, one by one. Just take the air out of this bowl as much as possible, because the air causes the bad mold to enter. So you just want to take as much air as possible, and doesn't matter the size, as long as it's a bowl. You take the air out. Okay. All right. Today I made it with 800 grams of soya bean and 800 grams of rice koji and 350 grams of sea salt, but you can make that half of it or double it.
You're talking about also, the fact of not creating waste. So how do you link your brand to, the zero waste movement?
My colleague was also very touched with this zero waste movement, and from very beginning when we started this company, we wanted this slow food movement plus zero waste movement. And I have to say it has been a challenge not to use plastic on the packaging, because in the end plastic is cheap, it's durable, it's clean looking, but instead we try to use paper, cardboard or glass jars to
That's
sell.
good.
And now you're going to put in the jar so that it can start the process of fermentation. Today I just took these 2 jars because it was in a basement, and here I already disinfected.
How did you do that?
I use vodka just so that I disinfect everything inside
Yeah.
and dry it. That's all I do. Now, what we do is we want to put this here, once again, airtight. Try not to put any air inside.
Okay, so you just squish it in
keep
there.
squashing, yeah. But with this already bowl made, it's much easier to do it, except the head.
Oh, that's why you made it into balls. Okay, I get it.
Hop, hop, hop. There you go. And just keep taking all the air out as much as possible. You don't have to go crazy about it, but the less air it is, the less mold gets in between the soya bean.
If you have like a little bit of mold on the surface, but you see that it's not touching the rest, can you kind of like scrape off the top part and keep the rest?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, because it's a fermented food, naturally in the air there's a lot of everything. So on the surface, clearly there will be a layer of green mold,
Yeah.
which is not toxic. All you have to do is use wooden spoon or any spoon, just scrape it off and close it again.
Okay.
There's also different types of miso. The most basic miso is made with rice, koji, sea salt, and soya bean. And there's a lot of different mix miso, which you could blend a blé koji with a soya bean, sea salt, or you can also make ferment the soya bean with koji and mix that with soya bean to make red miso. And in Nagoya, they're very famous for very dark red miso, which is completely made out of soya bean koji and sea salt and water. And that's it. But that takes 2 years of fermentation minimum.
Wow.
But it has a really, really deep flavor, which is completely different from white miso. Okay, so that's good. That fill up the jar quite nicely. And you clean the edge. Try to flatten as much as you can with your hand. Okay, and then what you do after this is just to avoid too much of the mold, you just sprinkle a little bit with sea salt on top, and that will keep the mold away. Okay,
That is really useful.
just like to cover the surface a little bit. At the end of this, I cut out a little cooking sheet. It's not really the size actually, but anyway, to just so that it covers the surface. Try to not to let the air in too much. And after here, we put the lid on. Not too tight, but just put the lid on. And voila. The way I started making miso was my mother was always making miso back home. And I used to actually put her miso paste in a big bag and sneak it to Switzerland just so that I can enjoy her good miso paste here. And I wanted to do the same here. Why not use local ingredients? I found bio soya bean in a local shop. Sea salt you can find anywhere. Water is clean in Switzerland. The air is clean. So I started making it, and it turned out to be actually, yeah, not bad at all. It's as good as what my mom makes back home, and I wanted to share that with the local people as well, as people are more health conscious about all the food, and I was very inspired by the slow food movement, that you use the local ingredients, make it locally, sell it to the local community, which brings back to the local economy, and I really like that concept. So here we filled up the miso paste ingredients inside the jar, sprinkle the sea salt on top to avoid as much mold as possible, but it will happen. And from time to time you open the lid, you check if there's any green mold. You just simply use the spoon to remove that mold part and sprinkle a tiny bit of sea salt again, cover it with the lid and wait. After 7 months, 8 months, or a year, your miso paste will be ready to eat.
And until it's ready, you can just go and order some of her miso paste that's already done.
So this is the white miso that we do make with the Swissmiso in the kitchen meal. And this is what I made about a year and a half ago. A mix of soybean koji and rice koji. And you will taste the difference between the two.
Okay, I'm so excited.
So that's the white miso paste made out of rice koji, sea salt, and soya bean.
That's good, Miso.
And that's with, we added the soya bean koji. It has a more flavor.
Definitely. Yeah, you can definitely tell the difference. And as you said, it has more flavor. It's a little bit saltier too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're both really good, actually. Yeah.
Thank you.
You just need to try this.
So this white miso we fermented for 7 months, and this mix miso with the soybean koji I fermented over a year.
Thank you for showing us how to make miso paste.
Thank you
It was
for having
awesome
me.
and it tasted really good. And thank you guys for watching this video. I will be putting the link of her website into the description box, so go and check that out. If you like this video and you want to see more of it, please leave a thumbs up and press on that subscription button. And have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.